Good morning, my neighbors. I hope you guys are good. So I just had an epiphany like Tiffany. No, well, I just had an epiphany, okay? Uh yeah, I don't know how many more responses I have from ChatGPT, yeah, because I've been having a bunch of conversations. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna ask, because I'm thinking the epiphany that I had was to do like an introduction to Gnosticism. Yes. And I'm just gonna use the text that I prescribe to everyone, to anyone who's like curious about Gnosticism. I always refer them to the Gospel of Thomas. So Thomas is an interesting character because when you understand the Bible, when you read the Bible, you know him as doubting Thomas. Do you know what I mean? You know him as the one who said who doubted. Do you know what I mean? And then Jesus, he said, I won't believe until I've put my fingers in his, in the holes in his hands and stuff. And then Jesus came when he said, hey, touch. Then he touched. And then but Thomas said, my Lord and my God. Right. So that's one of the few places where somebody in the Bible actually refers to Jesus as God. Right. Yes. And then, Jesus says famously, I believe, that, oh, you believe because you've seen. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet they have believed. I want to believe that was not necessarily Jesus. Um, that was not saying anything necessarily bad about Thomas. I think that was for us who wouldn't get to see the physical Jesus. You know what I mean? Yeah, but who would believe in him? So basically, it's like, because they are the witnesses. They are the ones who witnessed God when he was among us. Do you know what I mean? And so their ministry is basically just to tell us what God said when they were hanging out with God. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, um, so yeah. So basically Gnosticism. Listen, you must understand. Hmm, it's crazy. The first 300 years, the first 3 centuries, ne? The first 3 centuries of Christianity. I feel like that's when the true Christianity after Jesus was being done. What we've been doing for the past 1700 years, nah, it's been nonsense. I believe it's been nonsense. I believe Gnosticism is the true Christianity. Because you must understand, what we have now as Christianity is what the Romans imposed upon us, is what they accepted as Christianity, and then they imposed it on the rest of the world. I believe this is why certain scriptures made it into the Bible and some did not.
Most modern people are not at all familiar with the Gospel of Thomas. And so the Gospel of Thomas, not in our canon for several reasons, but we can talk about that at some point at the end of the lecture if you want to know. The Gospel of Thomas has become very famous, though, in the last part of the 20th century because it was rediscovered and published and created something of a sensation.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a wild thing. And the more I discover the scriptures, not in the Bible, the more I believe this hunch that I have. So anyway, I want us to go through the Gospel of Thomas together. Ne? Hi, Sophia. I call ChatGPT Sophia because of reasons. Could you please list for me all the sayings of the Gospel of Thomas? Because I love the way it starts, hey? I love the way it starts. So check it out. 114 sayings. We won't go through all of them, but I just want to look at interesting ones, because there's a lot that's gonna remind you of Jesus in the Bible, right? And then there's some stuff that's different, where you're gonna be like, what's going on here, right? I love the first lines. The first 2 lines. Is it the first 3 lines? I don't know. No. The first 2 lines, because the way they start, so dope. Anyway, it says, Listen, I'm not reading the whole thing, but these first two lines, I love them. Whoever finds the interpretation of these sayings will not taste death. Then the second one says, let him who seeks continue seeking until he finds. When he finds, he will become troubled. When he becomes troubled, he will be astonished, and he will rule over the all. Another version says, whoever seeks should not stop until seeking until they find. When they find, they will be troubled. When they are troubled, they will marvel. So where there's astonished, it says marvel. And then they will rule over the all. I want to believe Marvel, like the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that name Marvel, I want to believe where it came from was here, this verse. Because I've since understood several things about what it means to marvel. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, it's crazy. So anyway, let's see what number 3 says. If those who lead you, there's 114 sayings, né? And it's random sayings. They're not in any order or whatever. So if those who lead you say, see, the kingdom is in the sky. Oh, so I had like some technical difficulties, you know. My internet just had an issue while I was like talking about this text, so I know I'm on the right track. Absolutely. The Gospel of Thomas overloaded my internet. That's wild. So yeah. What was I saying? I don't even know. Anyway, okay. Verse 3. If those who lead you say, see, the kingdom is in the sky, the birds will precede you. If they say, it is in the sea, the fish will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is inside you, and it is outside you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will be known, and you will realize you are the children of the living Father. But if you will not know yourselves, you dwell in poverty, and you are that poverty. This is wild. Listen, Jesus said, if those who lead you, if your leaders tell you that the kingdom is in the sky, the birds will get there before you. Okay? Jesus is basically saying, if it's up there in outer space, the birds are going to get to heaven before you. And then he says, if you think the kingdom is in the sea, the fish will get there before you. I thought Jesus was just talking randomly here. I'm realizing he's actually making reference to, he's probably also including, ne? And making reference to the kingdom of Atlantis, the myth of Atlantis. Okay? So he's saying, and if they tell you it's in the sea, the fish will go there before you. So he's saying, if heaven is in the sky, it's coming from up there, the birds will get there before you. If it's in the ocean, if you believe it's in the ocean, the fish are going to get to heaven before you. And then he goes on to say, nah, rather, the kingdom is inside you and outside you. Do you know what I mean? Then he says, when you come to know yourselves, now he's talking about gnosis here. You see, this is why I prescribe this as the first text, as the first like book. You know what I mean? For anyone entering into this gnosis thing, right? It's crazy. Is it the first one I started with? Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, probably. I don't know. Anyway, number 4, the man old in days will not hesitate to ask a small child 7 days old about the place of life, and he will live. For many who are first will become last, and they will become one and the same. Listen, I believe in not so many words Jesus is talking about reincarnation here as well. Okay? Because he's saying an old man, right? A man old in days, an old man, isn't it? Will not hesitate to ask a small child who's 7 days old about the place of life. And he, the old man, will live. Do you get it? For many who are first will become last. What? Many who are first will become last, and they will become one and the same. In another version, it says, and they will become the same one. The way I understand that is that, first of all, spiritually, ne, when you touch that thing, that is God. When you reach there, okay? Like if two people reach God, if you are to interact with them, ne, they're indistinguishable from each other. And I believe this is how uh, uh, all Christians will eventually resemble Jesus Christ. There's all one, I don't know, archetype, which is like many, which we are all headed towards the closer we get to God. And that archetype is Jesus. And this is like basically when you attain it, you'll realize how much Jesus was. He was a lot of things. And anyway, it's crazy. You see, I ran out of stuff. It's because my internet acted up. My internet went crazy. Let's see, will it? Oh, thank you. Is it gonna give me everything? Domo arigato. Thank you. Yeah, you know, this text, it was discovered in 1945. Do you see? I hadn't read that. It was discovered in 1945. So anyway, let's read at the reading. I like this one, number 7. Listen, then I'll tell you, Jesus was speaking wild things here. So he says, a lion eaten by a human being is blessed. It becomes human. Okay? But a human eaten by a lion is cursed. The lion becomes human. In another version, it says, blessed is the man who will eat a lion, and the lion will become a human. Anathema is the man who will be eaten by a lion, and the lion will become human. Okay? There's this movie, Suicide Squad 2, right? No, yeah, it's 2. Yeah. Suicide Squad 2. There's this creature in like Suicide Squad. Like, so the first guys who die, right? What is it called? The Weasel. It's called the Weasel. Just making sure they're giving me more verses. Cool. It's called the Weasel, that creature, ne? That creature is called the Weasel. If you look at it, it looks like the way it walks like a little child. Then when you hear about what the creature is, it's a weasel, and it killed 27 children. That's why they had apprehended it. Okay, but look, it has like human-like features. Listen, if I hadn't watched that movie, like after, you know, when it came out around that time, like I said, I had started studying Gnosticism, right? So a lot of things in Hollywood were starting to look weird to me. A lot of things that I thought were nothing. I'm like, hold up, Jesus talked about something like this. Do you know what I mean? Because the same thing can be seen again with the character Nanawe. Okay? Kind of I'm realizing these are things that we thought were cool and, you know, it's just comic stuff and blah, blah, blah. I never thought it had any spiritual connotations until I read The Hidden Manna. I realized Jesus is talking about a lot of things that I see in movies that are coming out of Hollywood. Do you know what I mean? So it means there's another reality of this world that we don't know, you know, and like if you haven't read certain things, a lot of things can happen right under your nose and you don't know what's going on. It's crazy. Anyway, let's skip a few. Let's go to number 13. I'm just picking randomly. Jesus said to his disciples, compare me to someone and tell me who I am like. Peter said, you are like a just angel. Ooh, I love this one actually. Matthew said, you are like a wise philosopher. Thomas said, Master, my mouth cannot say whom you are like.
According to the tradition, according to the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus had a twin brother. And his name was Didymus Judas Thomas. Now, Didymus is simply the Greek word for twin. It's also used as the Greek word for testicles for obvious reasons. There are usually 2 of them. So Didymus is the Greek word for twin, and Thomas is from a Semitic word, either Hebrew or Aramaic or Syriac, which are all 3 similar languages. Thomas would look like twin in those. So the guy's name is Judas. The Hebrew version would be Judah. The Greek word would be Judas, and the English version is Jude. So you sometimes see it in English translations, Didymus Jude Thomas. But it's the same word, Judah or Judas. So his real name is Judah or Judas, and his Didymus and Thomas are his nicknames, one Greek and one Semitic or Aramaic. He was the twin brother of Jesus, according to early Christian tradition. Now, just one strand of early Christian tradition, that is Thomasine Christianity, the forms of Christianity popular especially in Syria and the East, which traced their existence back to the Apostle Thomas. So there really was an Apostle Thomas among the 12 of Jesus' disciples, and having that nickname twin. Traditional Orthodox Christians don't believe he was Jesus' twin brother. They just believe that he had the nickname twin because he was somebody else's twin brother. But in Thomasine Christianity, he was connected to Jesus himself as Jesus' twin.
Right? Thomas was like, I can't even like say what I'm seeing. Ooh, you see there's 3 dots here. I don't know why they didn't give me. You see, I'm out of responses. But anyway, I don't know why the Gospel of Thomas didn't give me more. This is not the complete verse. There's more here. Because that more is very interesting. I wanted you to, let me see. The Gospel of Thomas, do I have? I think I do. I hope it'll continue sharing my screen. Okay, cool. Where were we? Where were we? On number 13, Jesus said to his disciples, compare me to someone and tell me. Aha! Here it is, number 13. In fact, let's continue here. So this is my one that I typed up, right? My God, because I picked the version that I liked, and then I typed it out. So anyway, Jesus said to his disciples, compare me to someone and tell me whom I am like. Simon Peter said to him, you are like a righteous angel. Okay. Matthew said to him, you are like a wise philosopher. Thomas said to him, Master, my mouth is wholly incapable of saying whom you are like. Right? Jesus said, I am not your master. Because you have drunk, you have become intoxicated from the bubbling spring that I have measured out. Okay? This is still 13. And he took him and withdrew and told him 3 things. When Thomas returned to his companions, to the other disciples, they asked him, what did Jesus say to you? Thomas said to them, if I tell you one of the things he told me, you will pick up stones and throw them at me. A fire will come out of the stones and burn you up. Crazy. It's insane. You see, this is why I say the way the Bible is set up, okay? It doesn't really do Thomas justice. Because by Jesus' own words here, okay? Because you must understand, the way okay, here's how my gnosis is telling me about this verse, okay? It's telling me that Jesus wanted to see, he's trying to basically hear their opinions about himself, right? Meaning those opinions are going to tell him what they can see about him, okay? And so based on each one's answers, right? Based on each one's answers, listen and look at who he chose to answer, to respond to, and what he said. So, yeah, this is an intro to Gnosticism, my people. It's crazy. So Jesus said to his disciples, compare me to someone and tell me whom I am like, right? Like, this is after they've been with him. They've experienced him, for a bit. And then Simon Peter's like, you're like a righteous angel, So Simon sees an angel, shout. And then Matthew says, you're like a wise philosopher. Matthew sees a philosopher, right? And then Thomas says to him, dude, I can't even say what you're like. I don't even know what I'm looking at right now. Of these 3, Thomas was seeing a bit more of Jesus. Because look at what he said. Now we're going to look at what Jesus' response. So Thomas said to him, Master. Okay? He said, Master, my mouth is wholly incapable of saying whom you are like, but I cannot find the words to describe you. Peter and Matthew found words to describe. So it means the Jesus they were seeing, they could still quantify. You get, like, literally, they could quantify, and they had quantifiers for the Jesus that they could see. Thomas is the one who could not quantify what he could see, meaning what he could see, it was probably a bit more. Listen, what Peter was seeing, what it gave him was an angel. What Matthew was seeing, what it gave him was a philosopher. What Thomas was seeing, you must understand, Thomas is just like Matthew and Peter. He's been with Jesus, right? So where they are seeing a philosopher and the other one is seeing an angel, Thomas still cannot find the words for what he's seeing when he looks at Jesus. And then Jesus said, I am not your master. Okay, so from here, I'm gonna want us to go to saying number 108, ne? Just real quick, because something about being drunk, it comes up again. Okay, listen, about drinking, actually about drinking. So check, Jesus says, I am not your master. First, it seems like he's distancing himself, ne? But then he says, because you have drunk, you have become intoxicated from the bubbling spring that I have measured out. So Thomas first called him master. Jesus said, I'm not your master. You're drunk because you've been drinking what I've been preparing, what I've been measuring out. You must understand, by Jesus telling Thomas that I'm not your master, because I understand gnosis now, like this stuff, because I've been in the house for a minute, ne? I can tell you a little bit what Jesus is basically implying here. Jesus is basically telling Thomas that, low-key, you've become like me. That's why what Thomas was seeing, he was actually seeing more than these other two. Okay? Now, I want us to go to saying number, is it 108? Yeah, let's go like real quick. 108, I think. Aha. So saying number 108, it says, Jesus said, he who will drink from my mouth will become like me. I myself shall become he, and the things that are hidden will be revealed to him. Hey, I love this. You know, so, okay, here we have saying number 108. I want us here to go back to number 13. I think I'll stop my little introduction to Gnosticism here. Just so, yeah, maybe I'll continue from to other things. Nah. Oh, number 14 saying something interesting. But anyway, let's go again. So we have verse number 13 and number 108. You see? Now 108 it says, he who will drink from my mouth will become like me. I myself shall become he, and the things that are hidden will be revealed to him. Number 13. Jesus said to his disciples, compare me to someone and tell me whom I am like. Simon Peter said to him, you are like a righteous angel. Matthew said to him, you are like a wise philosopher. Thomas said to him, Master, my mouth is wholly incapable of saying whom you are like. Basically, in not so many words, Thomas was saying, you are unknowable. What I'm seeing right now is unknowable. Jesus said, I am not your master. I am not your master. Because you have drunk, you have become intoxicated from the bubbling spring that I have measured out. Let's go back here. He who will drink from my mouth will become like me. I myself shall become he, and the things that are hidden will be revealed to him. Thomas said to him, Master, my mouth is wholly incapable of saying whom you are like. I just said, Thomas was basically admitting that what he could see about Jesus, he could not yet fathom it. Okay? He could not fathom it. And then Jesus says, I am not your master. You've become drunk from the spring that I've been tending. He who will drink from my mouth will become like me. I myself shall become he, and the things that are hidden will be revealed to him. Do you get it? I'm going to say something blasphemous a little bit, or it might sound blasphemous to somebody else. Thomas had become Jesus. From listening to Jesus speak, Thomas had become Jesus. But he didn't realize it. Yeah, ne? This is crazy. This is crazy. Thomas had become Jesus. Because now, check this out. And then after this, right? After Jesus said, yo, you've basically become me because you've been listening to what I've been saying. And then Jesus took him aside. So, and he took him and withdrew and told him three things. So he took Thomas alone. After Thomas had this revelation. And he said, Thomas, you become drunk. Basically, you become like me. So Jesus went and told him three things. We don't know what Jesus said. Ne? It's not revealed here. But when Thomas returned, his companions said to his companions, they asked him, what did Jesus say to you? What did he tell you? And then Thomas said to them, because you listen, now from studying a bunch of these texts, ne, I've seen the way Jesus was dealing with the disciples. He was dealing with them to that level of awakening, to that level of awareness. So actually, even the teachings, they were not the same, even just among the disciples. Others were having revelations quicker than others. Those who would have revelations quicker, Jesus would take them aside and not teach them with the rest. And I believe there was a time where they were not yet allowed to like share what they've been told, because it was probably gonna like it was going to disrupt the collective flow of everything, because Jesus was meeting everybody, I think, at that pace. Do you know what I mean? Because the same thing again, there's a letter, Peter. Yeah, there's another letter of Peter that's Gnostic, right? It's among the Gnostic texts. And here, basically, Jesus comes to them and the disciples are gathered, they're writing their books. You see, this is why I say the Bible, the New Testament doesn't have a lot of the disciples' books, but the disciples all wrote books. Do you know what I mean? And actually, these books exist. So in the one of the letters of Peter, that's a Gnostic text that did not, it might have been Peter 3 in the Bible, because there's Peter 1 and Peter 2. This letter might have been Peter 3, but because it's Gnostic in nature, because of certain information that it has, it didn't make it into the Bible, because they didn't want people to know certain things that Jesus had said, mostly even about themselves. Do you know what I'm saying? Did we read I believe we read a scripture that says, when you know yourselves, you will be known, and you will see that you will know that it is you who are the children of the living Father. I believe we read that, ne? When you know yourself. It was verse number 3. Yeah. Jesus said, rather the kingdom is inside of you, and it is outside you. Ooh, I love how this connects with the verses we've just been reading, because Jesus has been just been talking to Thomas saying, yo, you've become like me. You've become like me. And then here in verse 3 it says, rather, the kingdom is inside you and it is outside you. When you know yourselves, then you will be known, and you will realize that you are the children of the living Father. Basically, Thomas was knowing himself. He was having realizations about himself. And Jesus was helping him have those realizations. The other people were delaying. So it's like another further interpretation of verse 13. I would say the disciples were still seeing Jesus outside themselves. The other two disciples, Peter and, is it Matthew? Thomas was seeing Jesus inside himself. So that's why he couldn't really like put it into words. It was new. It was like he couldn't articulate it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Crazy. Okay, so that's like my little intro to Gnosticism. You can see already, just the Gospel of Thomas, there's things going on here that we're not used to from the Bible. Trust me, there's a whole education. Ooh, it's beautiful. Like once you know, ooh, it's insane. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, so this was like my intro to Gnosticism. I think I'm gonna stop here. I don't wanna ramble on for too long, that type of thing. But yeah, man. Thank you guys. Thank you for listening. And I think I'm gonna do more. Actually, I think I'm gonna do more because at this point, these texts are my new normal, and they are very exciting. Actually, my spiritual life is very active now. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. So yeah, and as I continue to read this stuff, I'm also reading where Jesus was telling the disciples, okay, go tell the people, and these are the scriptures that this time, this age, people don't know them. So I think I'm gonna do a bit more of this, and we'll see what it becomes. But yeah, man, Joey's School of Gnosticism or something. It is what it is. Yeah, I've been searching for more Gnostics, even like on social media and stuff like that. Yeah, because I fully call myself a Gnostic now, just because I've been studying the text for so long. I found some group. I found a group on Facebook, right? I was so excited. Because I wanted now to discuss these texts. I wanted to discuss these texts and stuff. Yo, I'm in there. I'm asking them about a couple of texts. Some people don't even know. Some people don't even know that these texts exist, but they consider themselves Gnostics. And I'm like, how are you Gnostic then? Because I only called myself a Gnostic after years of study, but before that, like I really wanted to understand this stuff, to enter, you know what I'm saying? So I guess once I entered, that's when it's like, okay, I'm a Gnostic. So whenever I'm trying to have this conversation, I'm trying to talk about what's going on inside the Gnostic texts. Do you know what I mean? I'm realizing some people have basically distilled what they think Gnosticism is to a bunch of stuff. And so they're even bypassing studying the source material. That's crazy. That's insane. That's a dangerous game. That's a dangerous game because we actually have to know this stuff. Because this is like this is the real history of humanity, humankind. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's insane. So I'm just going to stop here and thank you for listening. I hope it was entertaining, informative. Listen, I'm trying to be informative, but at the same time, also, I'm not trying to be boring. Do you know what I mean? It is what it is. Until the next one, peace out.